What happens when the chain of command collapses? When there's no air support, no radio, no medevac, just terrorists swarming in and a handful of men standing in their path. On October 7th, as Hamas launched its surprise invasion across the Gaza envelope, two of Israel's most elite police units, Gideon and the Yamam, were thrown straight into the fire at a kibbutz called Mefalsim, one of the hardest hit zones of that morning. And there was no playbook for what they walked into. There was no backup, no coordination, yet these commandos, SWAT teams from Israel's national police, held the line. And on this episode, you're going to hear their story. The story that the international press barely touched. A story of raw bravery, some failure of leadership, and the razor-thin line between national survival and total collapse. Superintendent Aleph, or Superintendent A, for OPSEC, commander of Gideonim's 33rd Division, gets the call early. He splits his team and he races south. And they hit the Sha'ar HaNegev junction and what should be a secure IDF police handoff zone, but instead, absolute chaos. Gunfire's already cracking between Israeli units. No one's sure who's who, and there's been a report of terrorists hiding in a field. So A pushes forward, and he says, I said I was protected, and I went in. Then he sees figures in the brush, shouts in Arabic, gun raised. Turns out it's not Hamas. It's Nova Festival survivors, Israelis who fled into the fields after being hunted like animals by Hamas. They weren't about to be mistaken for terrorists. And this is what total battlefield disarray and chaos looks like. This is the reality. There's no comms, there's no uniforms, there's absolutely zero clarity when it comes to responding to terrorism. Just adrenaline and fog. Now I want to talk about the slaughter fields. And so Gideonim arrives at Kibbutz Mefalsim. And the first visual, Route 232, which is a civilian road littered with charred vehicles and bodies. Israelis slaughtered in their cars. The remains of ambushed families. There's no IDF checkpoint. Very little coordination. This was all popping off in real time. And the unit moves towards the Black Arrow Memorial Site, a symbolic location near the border. And they find a small team of elite Maglan soldiers under fire. And so they join and contact is made. Two Hamas terrorists are taken out. But it doesn't end there. All of a sudden, there's another ambush. Two of Alev's SWAT team operators are hit. One takes a round to the head, goes into a coma. The other shot in the aorta, bleeding out in seconds. Aleph throws both into a vehicle. He's got no medic, no tourniquets, and Route 232 is literally scorched earth. There's no military presence, no ambulances, nothing. Let me take a minute and tell you guys about something incredible that I'm building and why I need your help. It's called Gideon. It's the first real-time AI-powered threat detection system for law enforcement and schools. It scans the open web, social media, Discord, Reddit, gaming chats, and flags violent signals before they explode. We're talking about radicalization, grievance buildup, martyrdom language, the exact warning signs we've seen before Uvalde, Buffalo, and the D.C. embassy murders. And right now, there's no system catching it, so I'm building it. And I'm asking you, my audience, the people who care, to help me fund it. Every dollar goes directly to engineering, law enforcement deployment, and getting this into schools and across law enforcement agencies across the country. And so if you've ever asked, Why didn't they stop this? Or how come they didn't stop this? This is the answer. And if you're one of those serious guys out there watching this and you're a fan of the show, the ones with the capital, access, reach, the network, and you want to partner with me to seed this mission, I want to hear from you. Reach out to me. Click the link below and reach out directly if you're one of the big dogs. I'm building the system that stops the next attack before it starts, and it's called Gideon. Appreciate you guys. They get in the vehicle and they punch it towards Ashkelon, praying they survive. This isn't a war zone with infrastructure. This is literal collapse. And Aleph radios for support, and there's nothing, just static. So now we're down to 4 fighters, and the Gideon unit hunkers down at the Black Arrow site. And that's when the horror starts to ramp up. There was gunfire from every direction, according to Aleph. Terrorists were in the trees, 30, possibly up to 40 of them, driving around with machine guns. I want you to think about that. 4 Israeli police SWAT officers versus dozens of Hamas attackers in a tree-covered kill zone. Reinforcements finally respond to their distress calls, but can only take position on the perimeter of the site. And so the Gideon unit holds the center. Very dangerous. And they hold it for hours under constant fire. And according to Superintendent Aleph, he says, we tried to coordinate air support, but couldn't. The terrorists were like ants amongst the trees. Now I want to talk about the Yamam in all of this. Another elite team is spinning up. This is the Yamam, Israel's top-tier counterterrorism unit. And Superintendent Samech, or we'll call him Superintendent S, that's Yamam's deputy commander, deploys at 7:30 a.m. to a junction called Yad Mordechai. First contact with the terrorists. Then he regroups with 8 operators in a town called Sderot. It's where a ton of that action was. And they push towards the Sha'ar HaNegev, just like the Gideon unit did, and they hit a total gridlock. There's wounded personnel down on the ground. There's no reliable map of where the enemy is. And they suspect it's a monster ambush, but they go in anyways. And the forested terrain around the junction, dense, chaotic, perfect cover for Hamas. So 6 Yamam operators ended up dying and getting killed in that engagement. But the unit breaks through and clears the area. No retreat, no surrender. So now I want to talk about the deep push that never happens. In Lachav 433, or Lachav 433, is Israel's police national intelligence unit. They later confirmed a very chilling detail that just came out in this recent report. The Hamas attackers weren't planning to stop at Mefalsim. They were heading north, aiming for central Israel. And that was the main wave of Hamas's broader strategy. And had Unit Gideon and the Yamam, if they hadn't held those positions, you're looking at potential massacres in major central Israel cities. And Aleph credits a Shujaiya battalion tactic for breaking the enemy's momentum. A lucky call, and they secured a key position just as Hamas was staging its next push. And it wasn't just a shootout. It was the last line before a much deeper incursion. Now I want to talk about what I'm calling house to house in Kfar Aza. And as the day drags on, the Yamam, Israel's national counterterrorism unit and elite SWAT team, pushes into Kibbutz Kfar Aza. And there's hostages still trapped in homes. Gunfire is still active everywhere. Supplies are nearly gone. These guys have 2 grenades left. And the Yamam does something absolutely brilliant and very human. They open WhatsApp, start messaging with locals inside the kibbutz, And one of the Yamam fighters is from a neighboring town. And his voice convinces families to come out, builds that trust. So it becomes a rescue under fire. Digital comms, face-to-face trust, zero margin for error. That's the kind of tactical creativity you don't learn in training. That just comes on the day if you're the real deal. And so I want to close this one out with this. There's a lot of reports coming out. All the mistakes that were made, all the heroism about the day of October 7th and the massive responses. And most people have never heard of MELFASIM or Route 232 or how these two elite units fought wave after wave of terrorists with almost zero support. These guys fought like heroes. But this wasn't just a battle. This was a literal firewall. And the thing that stopped an all-out ground invasion into central Israel, I want to make that clear. These were elite operators with just rifles and radios. There was no air support, no command center, doing everything they could to hold the damn line while the system around them was absolutely crumbled. Nobody was ready for this. And this is what real counterterrorism looks like. And this is why I say it again and again. When the institutions fail, which they do in Israel, look what happens when we screw up. It's the warriors that keep the country from falling. And on October 7th, Halochamim Higio, the warriors showed up. And remember their names, because if they hadn't, we'd be telling a much darker story right now. I want to thank you guys for watching this one. This episode is based on a new report that's just come out about the massacre and the police and the various security units' responses, the wins and the failures on the day of October 7th during that horrible attack. I want to thank you guys for watching. I'm going to come back to this story as more of these reports surface. I want to thank you guys for watching this one. Salute to the heroes of Unit Gideon and the Yamam and all the security forces and the elements of the IDF who brought it that day. We salute you here at the Aaron Cohen Show. I'm Aaron Cohen. You're watching the Aaron Cohen Show, and I will catch you guys on the next one.